we'll have I'm not certain, is our deputy city clerk going to be in this meeting or not?
Yes, she's here.
Okay,
Yes, Mayor, thank you.
thank you.
Councilmember Avila?
Here. Sorry, I was unmuted.
There she is.
Thank you. Councilmember Ayala?
Here.
Councilmember Garcia?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Hernandez?
Present.
And Mayor Lozano?
Present. Thank you very much. We appreciate that. Thank you. All right. So what we have on the agenda, just to go over this real quick, we have the open session, which is the portable shower presentation presented by Recreation and Community Director Manny Carrillo. We have on the community summary presentation by City Ron Garcia. And we have the recess to close session. We have items 5495.6, which is the conference with labor negotiators. We also have item number 2, which is the conference with legal conflict existing litigation. Item 3, real property negotiations pursuant to Government Code 54956.8. And that would be the only items that we have on. So at this point, we'll go ahead and go into the portable shower presentation being handled by Mr. Manny Carrillo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and council members. Tonight, or this study session, we have a presentation in regards to the Shower of Hope, which is a 501c3 project to design to rebuild the dignity and confidence of people experiencing homelessness through cleanliness, a way of integrating back into society. We have the Department of Recreation Community Services Liaison and Program Supervisor Eurico Ruiz Esparza that will be presenting, as well as representatives from the Shower of Hope program. Eurico?
Of course, I want to welcome our guest, Mel Tilikiranti, and from Shower of Hope, who will be providing us with an overview of the Shower of Hope program, and will help us identify some possible locations for this program. Mel, can you hear us?
Yes, I can, Eurico.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Do you want me to start? Sorry.
Go ahead.
So Mayor Pro Tem and council members, thank you for giving us an opportunity to present the services we provide through the Shower of Hope. The Shower of Hope is a 501c3 nonprofit operating mainly in the county of LA. Throughout the county of LA, we have 25 mobile shower sites. And all of these are operated at a minimum of once a week. We do have one location in Bakersfield. That's the only location outside the county of LA. And what we basically do is, one thing we do, we want to let people know is this is not just providing a simple shower. The value of a shower, everybody knows how valuable a shower is for people who don't have access to bathrooms or any kind of restroom facilities. The value of a shower, the way we see it, is to give a person back their dignity, but also in that moment where they feel clean, where they feel refreshed, try to involve case management to connect them to long-term housing solutions. And that also, and not just long-term housing solutions, but we get clients who live in their vehicles, we get clients who are couch surfing, and a lot of times they're able to connect with they're able to connect with case managers.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt you.
There's feedback.
Yeah, there's a lot of feedback and it's really hard to hear. Can we make sure everybody is muted, please? Everybody make sure that your phone is muted except for the speaker. Thank you.
Thank you. So basically, the goal is to have sites where we have the shower services. We would work with either your city or another nonprofit to provide a meal service, and then try to engage service providers in the area, from LASA to any specific service providers in the city, to basically for the people who are coming in for a shower to connect them to services. When a person comes to us for a shower, we make sure that we give them the basic necessities from a towel, soap, shampoo, and then depending on donations, we also offer them underwear and certain clothing. But basically, the whole goal is not just to provide a shower, but to engage the unhoused community in the area, provide them with showers, food, but connect them to services so that we see we see the end of the line for their homelessness and a route into housing. As far as what we need for an operation is basically, we prefer parking lots because it gives us the space to park a trailer and the excuse me, flexibility to have other service providers around. We need a minimum of, just for an idea, we need a minimum of around 5 parking spaces right next to each other. If we have more, that helps us add in other services. And then basic access to clean water. And the other thing that is essential is access to a sewer drain to drain the water once people take showers. And then, like it says over here, we've been working with the County Homeless Initiative, Mark Ridley Thomas's office, to Supervisor Solis's office, to multiple city council, LA City council members. Any questions that any of the council members or the mayor or anyone else has regarding this?
Any questions, council members? Yes, we'll continue on.
Yeah, it's these
The
were
next-
Go ahead, Yuriko.
Yeah, so the next section will primarily be focused on the location selection. If there's no questions from our council in terms of the operations of the Shower of Hope. So we put here together the following city-owned locations where we saw a potential for implementing this program. So we will go through them individually and review some of the pros and cons between each of the identified locations. So just as a general update, Barnes Park, the Terry G. Muse Family Service Center, City Yards, the Arts and Recreation Center between City Hall and ARC, as well as the police department were identified as possible locations. We will also go into non-city owned locations who have also shared some interest in a possible partnership with a local church that's directly adjacent to Morgan Park, which is the First Christian Church. So next slide, please, Mark. If we go into the first location, we identified Barnes, the north end side of the park, where currently the Public Works Yard used to use as part of their storage or parking area. So you see it up there highlighted. It's currently a vacant and gated lot. So some of the pros that we identified were that it was safe and secluded, an area that's safe and secluded. We were also able to lock after the conclusion of the weekly program. So just in terms of programming, this program it is considered a pop-up event where we can basically provide the weekly services as a pop-up shop, so open and on the same day. It is a safety perimeter fencing already that exists, and it has already easy access to the freeway, and it's in close proximity to a hotspot for people experiencing homelessness. So if you see on the south end of that, towards the end, there's already signs of people, living under our bridges that may have access to that, as well as just the overall area. We do have it is considered a hotspot. Some of the cons, we do know that with Barnes Park in general, there's limited parking. So if there's anyone who is experiencing homelessness, who may not be of chronic, homeless, who does own a vehicle, it might limit some restrictions with parking. And it is also considered a semi-residential area. And of course, adjacent to a park. But I would like to say that even with the other cities, the Tri-City group, both in El Monte and South El Monte, traditionally the park access and the parks is a traditional way of hosting shower programs. So it is a con, but it is a common practice across the county. Next slide. The Terry G. Muse Family Service Center was identified as another location, primarily because all of our connection to wraparound support services exist out of that location. So if you recall, we do offer already motel vouchers, emergency food shelter, some emergency clothing response teams that are also, or clothing and equipment, as well as our entire team of social service staff that would be in close proximity to provide some program assistance to the Shower of Hope when they are out in our sites. Another pro is that it will be the home to our future access point that will basically have all of the wraparound support services provided by our lead agency in SPA 3. So this will serve as basically a future for a hub where people experiencing homelessness of all spectrums can visit and get connected to services and linkages to the coordinated entry system and into long-term housing. It also has close access to drainage. So if you see there on the street, there is a quick accessible access to drainage. However, some of the cons, it is very centrally located near the downtown area. Of course, Morgan Park, which is a heavily utilized park. And in terms of this park, we did do a site visit, and it might actually deter the homeless individuals from coming and visiting just because it is such a visible area. It is also in close proximity to playgrounds and sports fields, as well as a congested parking once we bring out the shower mobile unit. And once again, like, it is close to the downtown area. Next up, and probably one of our most promising pieces of property that we have identified, is the city yard on Garvey towards the back of the alley. Some of the pros with that is that it is a safe and secluded area in close proximity to public works. So if there's any assistance in terms of program support, that they will be able to be there and open and close for our program partners. There is an easy access to the freeway. And also this location, it is also another hotspot for people experiencing homelessness in the Baldwin Park area. So will be accessible to those experiencing more chronic homelessness. Some of the cons, of course, is limited parking, and it is near a semi-residential and business area. The Arts and Recreation Center and City Hall was a very kind of innovative look at the way that we looked at shower programs. We wanted to provide some close proximity to the police department and once again, staff support from the Art Center. So it is also a close proximity to another area, a hotspot of people experiencing homelessness, this one near the Big Dalton Wash. So there's a lot of parking available. However, some of the cons is that it is very near downtown and high visibility to City Hall resident or City Hall visitors. Once again, this is also a semi-residential area. And lastly, in terms of the city-owned facilities, the police department parking lot, which is adjacent to the police station, we thought it was kind of an area that could be designated with higher patrolling and ability to lock and close after the conclusion of the weekly program. It is also, like we mentioned, in close proximity to the police department and along all of the other geographical indicators of hotspots. Some of the cons also, the proximity with the downtown and visibility with City Hall visitors, as well as the semi-residential area. And in terms of the non-city operated, we also explored partnerships with a variety of churches. Churches in our city have become a key player in our attempts to address homelessness. And although we did reach out to multiple churches in the area, one of the most promising leads was the one across the street from Morgan Park, which is the First Christian Church, who just revitalized their or revamped their parking lot structure. They are very excited to at a possibility of a partnership and collaboration. It is in close proximity to FSC without having it be directly at the FSC area, which could maybe create some congestion around, homeless people gathering there throughout the week, because we will have all of the other services going out of that facility. Some close access to drainage. We have done a walkthrough, and it is a possible site, as well as access to parking. So if you see the highlighted area, there's space for the showers as well as parking. Some of the cons, once again, centrally located. Morgan Park, it is heavily used and may deter participation from people experiencing homelessness just because they may not feel as comfortable coming to this location. However, it is adjacent to Ramona, and once again, the business downtown area will be kind of near. So those are the possible locations that we identified, and we're just excited that we have some possibilities in bringing the Shower of Hope to Baldwin Park. And in terms of next steps, if there's any questions or feedback for us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mayor?
Yes, go ahead, Councilman Alejandra Avila.
Thank you, Yuriko, for this presentation. I'm very excited about this program that you guys have been working so hard for. I had talked to another one of our police chiefs about this, and we had been discussing bringing this in to bring it to our homeless families here in Baldwin Park. I'm very excited. I really think the one by the yard would be a better place. I did have a question. How close is it to homes and businesses there? I know I've been there, and it doesn't seem too close, but can you tell me?
Yeah, it's not a primary residential. We listed it as a semi-residential area. So maybe within half a mile, just along the corridor of the freeway. However, we do notice that there's people that perhaps may, sleep overnight or come out of the freeway underpasses in that area. So we just thought it would be a closer proximity and an easier accessibility to those experiencing homelessness.
Like you said, it's a hot spot in that area. So I'm very excited. I like that area, the one on Garvey, and okay. I really look forward to providing the services here in Baldwin Park. Thank you.
Perfect.
I just want to
Thank you.
Yeah, I agree. So that's the actual public works yard we're talking about, am I correct?
We are talking to the about the parking lot adjacent to the maintenance yard, adjacent to the empty lot.
Yeah, the empty lot. Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
That would be ideal. Easy access and provide that service to the homeless. Great. Anyone else?
Excellent. Thank you.
And there's room. So if you guys have had a chance to visit the Whittier Narrows, which is our partner over at South Del Monte, they already have the program operating every Thursday from 12 to 3. So if you guys want to, take a peek at what it looks like fully operational, they are there currently every Thursday, and in El Monte as well. So it is a program that has been successful across the cities in which we have collaborated with. And we were fortunate enough also to get the grant fully funded, or at least this piece of it fully funded through the Measure H and our partner cities, since they already have a relationship with the shower program through District 1, Supervisor Hilda Solis's office. Then all of the funding would be coming to Baldwin Park. And we have approximately about the length of the program. It's not, our contract with the county would have to be done by June 2021. But in the meantime, we do hope to address some of the more long-term developments with the collaborative agency, so that, showers can just be the first step of our efforts towards addressing homelessness in our area.
Yuriko, is this the same program they have in Irwindale?
Irwindale, yes, it is. They have another. Mm-hmm.
So I just want to touch back. So they're going to provide services there as well as a shower. They'll have the social workers and all the services there, the wraparound services in case they need to speak to somebody.
Yes.
Is that where they provide also assistance in case they need to get their driver's license or any legal documents that they may have lost? Because a lot of them have lost most of their documents. Are they going to have that type of service there?
Shower of Hope, this contract itself just provides the shower, but we do pair it up with a social services kind of mini pop-up shop, and the services vary depending on the week. So different social services, it may be access to nutrition, access to, yes, DMV services. So on a weekly basis, we partner with a various, we basically pair it up, sort of a resource fair, in order to get the participants additional services through the showers, and the showers just kind of to captivate and bring people in. So yes, it'll be supported with wraparound support services.
And they provide clothing for them too, because I know in Irwindale they do have clothing for them and all those type of things. Do you know?
Mel, is that something that's weekly or as donations come in?
That is based on donations. And
Okay.
one of the things we do is like, we do try to engage others, other nonprofits in the area to see if they'll be willing to partner with us and come in and have a table and provide anything from clothing to any other resources we think might be useful.
So if we bring donations to our community center, would you be able to take like the clothing that we bring there to that area when we have the showers there?
We wouldn't be able to transport it ourselves, but if we were to be provided it on site, we'd be more than happy to distribute it.
Staff to coordinate those type of elements, those extra type of pop-up programs.
Because I know
Yes.
people are always looking for places to go donate clothing and all that. So if we can make sure that they're aware that we have the community center where they can come and bring
And we
clothing
currently,
and all that.
yeah, and we currently do have that program out of the Terry G. Muse Family Service Center. So we do serve as a collection site out of that location. So we can continue to ramp up our marketing across that and feature maybe like on social media, on our website, just so that when the Shower of Hope comes by or gets implemented, then we have in terms of weekly drop-offs as well.
Yeah, let's promote it, and let's try to get the school district on board to promote it there. And if we all work together, I'm sure we can get a lot of donations so that we always have those type of services for them.
Yes, of course. Thank you.
Eureka.
Yes.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, Councilmember Garcia.
I'm
great, thank you.
Good. I'm so glad to hear. First of all, I do want to thank you for the presentation, and I do want to chime in and say that the city yard is my preferred location. And I think for the reasons, that you pointed out, for one, it's in a more like light industrial area, access to the river. I think it'll just be more accessible to the homeless population. And I am a little concerned about bringing in foot traffic into our downtown area. So I do think that would be the best location. I also wanted to just throw something out. And I know that Councilmember Avila, mentioned some additional services. Years ago, I worked for a company that provided a location and a site, and the city of Los Angeles provided trash bins, and a business improvement district, a BID, administered a program where homeless could bring their items and leave their items in the bin for the day, and then they would go about looking for work or doing whatever they needed to do during the day. And it seemed to work really well. This was years ago. This was back in 2006, and the idea was to remove a lot of the debris that homeless kind of carry with them, and also the shopping carts and things like that. I have noticed that is becoming more of an issue in the community. And so I wanted to ask you if we can consider putting some kind of collaboration together so that we can, we can get some of the debris off of the streets, if you will, and just kind of, housed somewhere. so that the homeless can come and go and take, and they'll feel like their items are secure, but they can take them as they need. And I only share that because as I was driving through downtown LA recently, I saw that there was a real serious problem where the belongings of the homeless have really mounted, and it's become such an eyesore. And, you know, just this week I was driving around and I saw that there is a bit of an increase around our, you know, the homeless. Like I saw some homeless at Morgan Park, and their belongings were kind of scattered about. I saw another homeless right next to Burger King, and, you know, his items were scattered about. So if we can look at a collaboration, perhaps Waste Management can provide us the trash bins. Perhaps we can, you know, look at the city yard as a site and see if that, you know, something along those lines could be viable. I know it worked. It was in a very industrial area. Actually, it was very close to Skid Row.
Okay.
And then that program, you know, it disintegrated because the property owner ended up selling the properties, and a new owner came in and developed the site. So it disintegrated, but it actually was a model that worked. And so if we can consider something like that, just to take the shopping carts off the street, you know, and if we can have our homeless showered and, you know, with fresh clothing and being able to move around, I think it'd just be healthier
Of course.
for all of us.
Yes, of course. And it's interesting that you bring that up because we do have some funding for the Safe Locker program. So the Safe Locker, they call it the Safe Locker and Navigation. And it is a program that we will be presenting to you guys at the next meeting on 11/18 in terms of the partnership with Union Station, that we will be offering that service as well. So they will work with us to help us facilitate the contract to get the lockers at a more affordable rate. And they will have lockers in Baldwin Park and Monte and South Del Monte. So thank you for that feedback.
Okay.
And we will explore all options. And if we have already identified a location, then it might make sense to also look at how we can partner with the Public Works adjacent land and see if we can explore it out of that area. The other alternative was also to group it with our access point out of the Terry G. Muse Family Service Center, but those were more for and now that you're thinking about the shopping carts and the more chronic, describing more of the chronic homelessness, and not, maybe perhaps people that do have a job, they go to work and they just need their a small secure their items. We could possibly explore two alternatives depending on where they are in their experience as homeless individuals. So definitely thank you for that feedback. And we would love to explore that model further and explore all options, again, to improve our homeless service delivery.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate that. Yeah, I'll look forward to that presentation. It sounds great.
Of course.
Anyone
And
else?
Eureka too.
Eureka, if I may.
Yes, go ahead.
Of course.
Thank you. No, thank you very much for the presentation. I'm very excited to see this. It's something that we've talked about, several months ago.
Of course.
So this is, exciting. As with the rest of my colleagues, I also support, placing the services where the needs the most. And that's clearly over along the 10 freeway and so forth. So, in that sense, I'm there for that location. Let's try that as a pilot. If for whatever reason we don't have the visitations, then please come back to us and, let's explore another place, whether it's closer to downtown or wherever that might be, as we raise this. My major concern that I have is, in the sense of who's connecting the dots. And I say that in the sense of, as we are, actually having contacts with each of these individuals that are experiencing homelessness, my bigger question is, and it's perhaps not something that we can discuss now, but perhaps later, is who in the city and who within the outside agencies are connecting the dots of, the various connections between the services that we're providing to these individuals and our families, right? My understanding is the police department is looking at, some collaborations among the law enforcement to provide, folks, not sworn individuals, but a non-sworn professional to be able to, reach out to talk to folks and so forth. Again, if we have the folks, if Mel's group is, meeting and, speaking with these individuals, and tracking, and not necessarily tracking, but recording the contacts and the type of needs that they need or requirements, who back at the city or at the county level, is gathering this information. So that way, we're not duplicating our services or our efforts. When, if, I come there 1 week, I come back, 2 weeks later, I'm asking either for something or similar information. Someone, in the city could either follow up, or someone at Mel Shop could follow up with making sure that I got the right information, and more importantly, the follow-up of, whatever appointments or documentation that might be needed. As Councilmember Avila, spoke about, one of the biggest things is individuals getting their, documentations, whether it's driver's license, birth certificates, etc., but also getting, their medications and so forth. So if we can just think about that, and more importantly, perhaps, bring that back, for another study session with our chief and PD and so forth, that would be very beneficial, I think, for all of us, because again, this, this I think will augment some of the services that LASA is doing.
Of course.
We're all meeting individuals out on the streets or in their home or in their vehicles, and we're providing them services, but it's a matter of truly understanding what it is, what is it that they truly need that we could, provide, and more importantly, also recognize what gaps we might have in the sense of services. I think that's a bigger question as we have these individual contact points with families and individuals, experiencing homeless at various levels, and of course,
yes.
Touching base with the school district, and we have to be able to. Here's the one thing: we have to be able to share the information across the board. So if somebody has spoken with someone, the school district needs to know that that family has someone of school age that may or may not be enrolled in the school, or perhaps in a different school district when they're actually living here. So if we can just close that gap, I think it'll help our community and those individuals out on the streets. Thank you.
Of course, thank you for that feedback, and we do have some very streamlined approaches to make those connections, and thank you again for your reminder that kind of based on our discussions that we've had in the past, we did, if you recall, we did submit the innovation grant that we got awarded the $200,000 in collaboration with San Gabriel Valley Council of Governments, in which we will be incorporating some strengthening of the linkages to the coordinated entry system, as well as asset mapping throughout the throughout the region to identify like what services are available, what are some of the gaps, and what are some of the possible partnerships, further collaborations that we can have with both school district, the faith-based community, the business community. So thank you for your leadership once again on that. And that is at the forefront of our discussion to continue to create those linkages and stronger bonds with, and more, the delivery of homeless services really has to be a very systematic approach, because there's not one, just the nature and the organic nature of homelessness is that people travel and people transition and people are at different stages in various, in a 6-month period, they could go from just needing beginning services to really ending up in homelessness, or vice versa, coming to us, and we're able to, for example, an opportunity that we had to help a local resident with a that experienced a house fire. They technically, by definition, were considered homeless, a family, but through our rapid response and our linkages, we were able to support them and provide them both an emergency temporary shelter, and then help them with the deposit of a permanent home. So we're really excited that all of this is coming to full fruition, and that we're now able to visualize and kind of witness what some of these programs are really doing on the street. So thank you once again for all of your leaderships, Mayor and council members. And we will definitely take that. I definitely took greater notes, and we will emphasize those points in our programs as we move forward. So thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Anyone else wishing to speak? All right. Yes, go ahead.
Sorry, Council Member. Just to respond to Council Member Hernandez, we actually have a very low barrier approach and we only take light data as far as the individuals coming in. And the reason being is one of our successes has been in engaging people who previously been considered service resistant. And part of that approach, especially since if we're going to target individuals living on a riverbed, they are very hesitant to engage when it comes to providing even basic data. So we keep a low barrier approach, but the success is, having the partner agencies like LAS or any other service provider being present on site to capture those people, their information, and then, create those linkages. So I just want to clarify that, as far as organization, it's very light data that we capture, and it's more or less creating space for the service resistant individuals to sign up for services.
Thank you, Mel, and I really appreciate that. No, I completely understand, some of the hesitation for folks that are experiencing homeless, resistance for sharing information, especially just sometimes their name and their last name. But that said, I think there's still a bigger piece of the pie that we're not looking at in regards to, as Eureka mentioned, is the linkages, right? Is connecting those people with the same consistency person at LASA and or with our staff that's at the Terry G. Muse Center, and circling back and more importantly, understanding, if we're having, multiple contacts with one individual, at some point, I need to ask is who's the one who's saying, what are we doing for this, for this family or for this individual, right? Like, have we taken all the steps necessary to provide them everything that they need, specific to their needs? And to be very honest, that's something that I hope, I don't necessarily think that it happens very often. So that's why, when we talk, Eureka and others in regards to the asset mapping and the linkages and the connecting the dots, that's what I mean by that. But no, without a doubt, Mel, you have some really great points, and your service is going to be essentially the entrance point in which I believe will be a roadmap for guiding folks and assisting folks off the streets. So thank you again for everything you and your team do.
Thank you, and just to assure you, at any point if we do come across families, our team leaders are trained on how to connect them immediately. For us, if it's young children, then we go into a different mode on how to, it's not just a referral process for us at that point. At that point, it's how do we work towards, contacting staff at your city, staff at the service provider if they're not present, to make sure that we try to create a quick transition. And then also with individuals who are returning, we train our team leaders to identify the individuals who are regulars at our sites and to try to create a bridge between them and the service providers.
Yes. And to that approach to Councilmember Hernandez, we're really glad that you bring that up, because we also have at the higher level, we've been pushing at the COG level for more Spot 3 outreach leads, as well as a specialized DMH with the Department of Mental Health to also reach out to some of the homeless individuals that may need that specialized care that we see that are really, hurting in the streets. So I will share at an upcoming council communication a PowerPoint presentation of what some of the efforts around our collaborations now with also DMH, so that we could target some more of the complex cases that we see perhaps in our parks and our libraries, which are considered more of the visible homelessness that we are starting to see. So thank you so much. And thank you, Mel, also for clarifying and providing additional insight as to our linkages and strengthening with the overall homeless service systems.
Eureka. In my experience, when I've done the outreach with the police department, and I've actually been out there with LASA and the health department. So what I saw is that LASA goes out there and they actually know these people very well, and they have this conversation. We're following up with you. Last time we were together, we did this and that. Where are you at? And so they're actually following up, and they are tracking the people that want to be tracked, of course, the people that want to give the information. So I know LASA and the health department are working hand in hand. I was actually there with them when they reached out, and I thought it was a great program that they are getting to know the individuals, the homeless, and providing services, and actually following up with them to see where they're at, to see if they need additional help. And when the mental health worker is there, if they need to provide a mental health services immediately, they'll actually transport the person to the facility where they're needed. So I did learn that when I did those outreaches. So I know they're outreaching and they are following up with them. So thank you.
And they do. They're a little bit like cities, that we became a valuable key stakeholder at the beginning, back in 2018, where we really started to implement some of these programs, and at the city level, where we could provide so much more support with that local approach, and also strengthen the county services that already exist and that are so valuable to our residents. So of course, thank you for noting that and for actually doing the site visit. That really opens up to the intensity and the the level of expertise that is out in the streets to connect with our homeless neighbors. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anything else by council members? All right, if not, we'll go over to the downtown COD community summary presentation presented by Mr. City Planner, Mr. Ron Garcia. Mr. Garcia.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great evening.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, Council, and staff. Would also like to welcome our downtown TOD specific plan update, who you've already met, Kaiser Rungwala of Rungwala Associates. Tonight, we just would like to present to the City Council a summary of the community charrette that we had a couple weeks ago in the middle of October, and essentially would like to present those ideas. We had a series of noon talks and evening presentations during those 3 days. We accomplished a lot of work during those 3 days. Without further ado, I will hand it off to Kaiser Rungwala.
Thank you, Ron. Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. It's good to be before you again. As Ron mentioned, there are roughly 7 steps. We're about midway. We've had a series of meetings. Today is the 9th meeting, and many of you have participated and provided feedback throughout those meetings, and we've interacted with the community. And we're here at a crucial point where at the visioning session, we came up with a community-supported vision at the end. And we're about to document that and bring that up for adoption in the next in the next 3 or 4 months after we do the CEQA work, the environmental documentation. But we wanted to have this one more check-in with the council to make sure you're aware if you missed a meeting or two of the outcomes that the community came up with at the charrette, and can provide direction and feedback. There are 2 additional opportunities between now and adoption for us to have additional check-ins. Next slide. As Ron mentioned, we had the visioning charrette, which is where we work 3 days continuously, and many of you may have attended either the noon sessions where we had presentations by our consulting team on various topics, and in the evening we started discussing concepts that were relevant to downtown Baldwin Park, opportunities, options that were available, alternatives. And then we got feedback each day. And then based on that feedback from the community, from the council members, from the planning commissioners that participated, as well as some experts in the field, including staff, we made some adjustments. We brought it back, we refined it, we moved it forward. And then the goal was at the final day, we presented a master plan. And thus far, we've received a lot of positive feedback, and we are excited. Next slide. The boundaries of the maps are indicated by the buildings that are colored. The darker shades are the boundaries representing the boundaries of the old specific land, the current specific land that you have in place. And there was a desire, both from the staff level as well as community participation at the charrette, to include some additional parcels to take advantage of opportunities that have made themselves available, and to correct a couple of errors in boundaries, in laying out boundaries in the old specific plan. So in essence, we have expanded the specific area boundary. Next slide. One of the comments and one of the things that we noticed, and we conducted discovery work, we interviewed people and we talked to people, as well as had focus group meetings. And one of the comments that we recurringly heard is that you are a great downtown with a great collection of destinations. It's just the linkages between those destinations may not be currently the optimal, both for walking, if you're walking around downtown, or if you're driving around downtown. And that has to do with a development trend that has not just impacted Baldwin Park or Southern California, but it's impacted the nation, which is we essentially designed the grid, the old grid that we had, which made it easier to walk and drive around because it gave you more options to get around, and replaced it with super blocks. And in this case, you can see some shopping centers that are primarily surrounded by huge parking lots, and they make it difficult to get around. They make it difficult not only to get around by car, but certainly pose a challenge in walking around. And in typical downtowns, what you'll see is you have a grid, and the downtown grid becomes even more intense, where more opportunities are provided in alleys and pathways to get around. And in Baldwin Park, some of the development decisions that were made in the past 4 or 5 decades have made that a challenge. So we wanted to address that through this planning effort. But the good news is all of that land that you have in parking is great opportunity as you look in the future for redevelopment whenever it occurs. And some of that parking is in the public right of way. Baldwin Park is the old tram line. Therefore, you have the excess right of way, and then when the tram went away, some of that was converted to on-street parking. We did a parking study, and we found that you roughly have about 1,300 parking spaces off-site, in structure, and when you add some of the on-street parking, besides the parking that you have on Ramona, that number is even higher. And then what we found is, and this is pre-COVID numbers, so obviously in the COVID environment, there's fewer traffic, fewer parking spaces that are occupied. But in the pre-COVID era, looking at the aerial photographs, we found that about 56% average occupancy. That means 44% of your parking spaces are not utilized or underutilized. So there's a huge opportunity there to reconceive, to reimagine that public asset that you have within your community that is so grossly underutilized. Next slide. Now, in the downtown, you do have a strong grid that is established by north-south streets, the 3 major north-south streets that you have in the downtown. In addition to that, you have Ramona, which is the east-west corridor, and then the thought and the concept that we were exploring with the community at the meetings is introduction of the lost grid, the grid that used to exist, and to try to connect some of the streets and to try to connect the destinations with a series of linkages that are as beautiful, as desirable as the destinations themselves. The destinations being City Hall, the station, park, shopping on Ramona and Main, and all the other housing and shopping availability within the area. So we are looking at how we can enhance those connections and opportunities to get around, and also look at how we can weave together some of the open spaces. So it creates a network of open spaces, network of parks. In this diagram, you're also seeing the station, and we're looking at Downing. Currently, between Downing and the station, you have a parking lot, and that's not the highest and best use, particularly at a rail station. So we're considering options of maybe perhaps moving Downing closer to the rail station as one option. Now, this is the beauty of this plan is, and the beauty of the documentation that we'll make is, we'll give you several options. And if this doesn't work, then look at this, because many of these things can be done in the public realm, that either a right of way that you own, or working with a private investment. And in some cases, you have to work with Metrolink, such as for moving the parking area and moving the trains, moving the Downing Street. All of that is going to require some additional study. But we want to create an aspirational plan, and then incrementally work over the years towards that aspirational plan. Next. Working with staff and the community, we collectively identified all of those sites that you see in yellow as catalytic sites. The buildings that are colored in are existing buildings or buildings that you have development proposals or have active ENAs with interested parties. Now, I want to emphasize that this may actually take a generation, or it may never happen. But these are opportunities that are available in the downtown, that the city, the private investor can take benefit of. And I want to walk you through a series of these opportunities next very quickly, because I have limited time. Please, next. So the first one exists at City Hall. We believe this is something that can happen as a first phase. And it's also important and it's significant because City Hall, it's right next to the station, and the linkage between the station and Main Avenue is something that, if enhanced, could improve transit usage, but also access and connection to jobs within the region, and bring the region to Baldwin Park as well, so that they can enjoy and spend money in the downtown area. So we're looking at the park, the City Hall Park, that could be redesigned, reprogrammed, and more importantly, looking at the ENA across that you have across the exclusive negotiated agreement that you have with the developer who's interested in developing the Bowtie parcel. That is crucial, because what that does, it bookends and creates an outdoor volume that makes that park safe, easy, accessible, enjoyable, desirable, and with programming that can become a dynamite space that could provide a pleasant experience from walking from the station to Ramona. And then at Ramona, we're looking at the parking area in front of the building, the existing parking area, and looking at, because it's currently underutilized and it's not attracting, the clientele, and the retail is also, at some level it's struggling. So we wanted to look at that as a placemaking opportunity to bring in a different kind of environment than the one that exists, and I'll share with you some images of that. And then look at the connection from the station to Ramona, and that's through the alley behind the parking garage, and see how that can be enhanced. The bottom line is, we want to look at the station and look at as many connections as we can to Ramona and to the downtown, and weave those connections to wonderful walking experiences that are safe, enjoyable, and comfortable. Next. So here's an early rendering of what that environment could look like. This is looking at City Hall, the park in front of it, and then Ramona is at the top of the image, and looking at the connection between the station, the park at the station, and the connection from the station and the parking garage building to Ramona Boulevard. Now, if possible, we'd want to explore grade crossing. We had a chat with Metrolink, and that's not something that they approve without a study, and we understand that. But we want to propose that so that if in the future that opportunity presents itself, you have a plan that can take full advantage. But in the interim, you can have that additional linkage in between the blocks. Next slide. So here are some images of what that parking area in front on the south side of Ramona could transition into. It could transition into a series of environments. To the very east, it could be more rustic, more organic, and as you move closer to the urban edge of Maine, it could become more urban, and it could provide some water feature at the intersection to soften the intersection and make it more pleasurable, more inviting. And by doing this, what you're doing is you're creating a destination in itself that also acts as a linkage that connects some of your other destinations. So you're making a place and attracting more people and more clientele to the retail, making retail successful, making transit successful, at the same time creating a wonderful experience in the downtown area. Next. And this is taking a look at that connection between the station and Ramona Boulevard, and making sure it's not a back of the alley operation, but something that's dignified, celebrated, accessible, attractive, uses public art, and people use transit at all hours, including evening. So lighting becomes an important concept, and we want to explore all of those and integrate that into that connection. Next. This is looking at City Hall, and one of the things that we heard, I think it was the planning commissioner or one of the city council members that mentioned that you want to see Baldwin Park downtown not as a drive-by experience, not as something that you drive by, but something that you can stop, you can enjoy the environment, you can enjoy the businesses that are there, you can enjoy the amenities that are there, and spend money while you're doing that, and it becomes a great place to live, work, and shop. So placemaking is an important concept, and we're looking at all opportunities, including looking at the City Hall Plaza or the open green with perhaps that important corner, again having a water feature or some kind of iconic public art. And it could be a different quality, different type of open space than some of the other open spaces that are either existing or being proposed as part of this downtown specific plan. Next, please. And we're taking a look at the streets, and we really think streets are your greatest asset, and they are your linkages today. But they are not designed for the pedestrian. They're primarily designed to move traffic. And that's an important concept. We're not changing that. We're keeping the lanes as is, but making improvements so that it becomes equally desirable environment to walk, an equally desirable place to have a business or to have a frontage. And we're looking at landscaping, introducing bike lanes, on-street parking, and in landscaping, looking at not just what you provide in terms of low landscaping, but also trees as dividing or creating that canopy, and then using trees also as a landmark. So a tall palm along the railroad corridor would suggest that that's where the railroad is, because it'd be visible from a distance. It's an iconic presence, and it creates an environment that's easy to walk, easy to maneuver, but is not a challenge. It's still providing the same amount of driving space, same capacity that you currently have in your streets in downtown Baldwin Park. Next. So that's Bogart Avenue. And then enhancing the station area, I made justice to this, looking at the station area and the parking in the front and looking at that as an opportunity to maybe bring Downing closer to the station and create developable parcels, because those parcels that you have currently in the parking area are not large enough for development. But if you combine them with existing parcels, then you can use them for development, but you could also use them as transitional uses that would protect the existing residential neighborhood that's right next to the station. So you can create sensitive context-based development that acts as a transition from the Metrolink station and protects, in essence, the residential neighborhood. At the same time, look for opportunities to provide the parking that is being replaced in that area, so that parking is continuous resource that is available to those that come to Metrolink. Next, please. So that's Downing Avenue. Again, looking at Downing, this on the left-hand side is the existing configuration, and the right is the proposed. And we're recommending that you have tall palms that define the rail corridor, so they're visible from a distance, and then providing shade and providing opportunities for on-street parking and wider sidewalks. Next. You went a little too fast. I know I need to go faster. Sorry. So Ed, this is a concept that came in early and that resonated with a lot of people, including the community members. Your name is Baldwin Park, and wouldn't it be great to get off the station and to actually get into a plaza, a park? So this looks at how that park could be provided as an amenity, as a plaza, as an urban plaza. And there are some images there that you're seeing, but could also act as a mobility hub. So when you get off, you have various options to get around. So you don't necessarily have to drive, but you have a variety of mobility options that are available. You can either take a bike, you can take a scooter, you can take a share ride or transit. A variety of those concepts are combined in a mobility hub. And these mobility hubs are sprinkled all throughout downtown. Next, please. So then we come to Ramona Boulevard, and this is currently a sort of a barrier, because what happens to the south is different than what happens to the north, and it's difficult to cross. And you have speeds that perhaps don't encourage crossing, and distances or block distances that don't encourage crossing. And they don't encourage interaction between the south and north. So we are proposing additional crossings between Ramona, and proposing to, again, look at that concept and that comment that we heard from the council and the planning commissioners, saying you don't want to be a drive-through experience. You want to communicate that you've arrived in the downtown area, and you do that at the extreme ends by creating iconic presence or landmark buildings or landscape. And then once you get in, there's a different environment than the one that exists outside of the downtown, which is distinctive. It's one where you want to hang out, one where you want to park and get off and walk. So we're looking at various opportunities of how to enhance that linkage. Next. This is on the image to the left is Ramona existing. As you can see, I mean, basic think like a sidewalk. The sidewalk that you see in that image to the right of that image where the cars are is 4 feet wide. And with a 4 feet wide sidewalk, you have a lamp pole right in the middle. Now we are all privileged to walk, but can you imagine if you were physically challenged and on a wheelchair, or if you're pushing a baby cart? That would pose incredible challenge in an already challenging environment where it's difficult to walk. So we're taking a look at how we can transition that over a period of time into something that's more walkable, but without compromising the ability of people to drive. So we're keeping the number of lanes exactly the same. The capacity is exactly the same, but introducing bike lanes that are protected. You have bike lanes, but it's incredibly challenging currently I wouldn't bike, frankly, because I'm a recreational biker, and having a protected bike lane, which is protected by landscaping and by on-street parking makes it easier, makes me feel more comfortable. And we can do that without breaking any curbs. So we're looking at incremental things that we can do over a period of time that change and suggest a change in the quality of place. So adding bike lanes protected, as well as landscaping and changing the current character. And you have a healthy landscaping currently, but even looking at opportunities to maybe provide landscape islands between parking to additionally create that foliage and additionally create that character would change the place. Next one. So this is interim, and the long term, we could bring the buildings closer. And again, this could be a generational project. This is looking at when the development is ready. For example, that huge parking area, the shopping center to the north of Ramona, when they want to redevelop, they could bring the building close to the street, have a wide sidewalk, have a bike lane, and the parallel parking that is already there, and the landscaping that is already there, and take advantage of that. And then the iconic landscaping, the palms could be at the edge of your corridors, indicating that you're entering a special environment, a special place that perhaps you should slow down, that it's not a fast-moving environment, it's a downtown environment, it's not a drive-through experience. Next. Various infill projects, again, the object here is to connect the grid. And then because these are large parcels, to look at opportunities to provide open spaces and look at contextual development. These may happen over a period of time and they may not happen. But if they happen, we're suggesting here's one opportunity or one option how that could be laid out. But there is incredible flexibility in how those things could be laid out, where you lay the streets out, where you lay the open space out. But the code would suggest that if you have a large enough tract, you need to connect the existing streets to the extent possible, so you connect the grid and maintain that grid so it becomes easier to walk around, and it becomes a comfortable and safe environment, and provide open spaces. So so you have a range of open spaces, everything from the type of park that you have in Morgan Park to a trail system, a regional park system along Ramona, to small pocket parks, such as the one that you see in this development. Next one, please. And these are different areas that we are taking a look at. In many cases, you have existing assets, and we are leaving those existing assets. This is the Starbucks building on the extreme left of your screen. And then there are some existing buildings that are fairly stable. We're leaving them in place, and they create increasing and interesting opportunities to create open spaces in the front to acknowledge that they're existing buildings. But then in the new buildings could come all the way to the street's edge, just as I shared with you in this section before. Next. So these are two additional projects that could occur over a period of time. Again, they may or may not occur. The one to the right, these are also gateway projects, and they connote important points of inflection. The one to the right, the one to the east, is an interesting one because it can be a visual delight that you see either when you're leaving town or leaving downtown or coming into town. It could be a really interesting architecture opportunity there at that corner that defines that corner, but also makes it easier for people to drive around. Because when you don't have a building, when you don't have a definition of the environment that envelops that area, it's difficult to know where to turn because you don't have a reference point. But when you put a building and the building defines that unique shape of that site, it becomes easier to imagine how to move around. You know where the streets are. Next. These are, again, taking a look at infill opportunities on Main. We worked with and we interviewed individual property owners through this process, and many of them expressed the desire to move forward and pursue mixed use in the near future. And some said, we are happy just the way we are. We're looking at some opportunities to have infill along Main, and we think that's okay. And this happens to be one of those sites. But in the future, if they're ready for redevelopment, we can certainly contemplate how that site could redevelop in the future. Next one.
Kaiser, this is Ben Martinez. Could you wrap up the last few slides maybe in about 2 or 3 minutes? Thank you.
Absolutely. So let me just use this and wrap it up here. This is the illustrative plan that brings all of the projects together. Now, in addition to this, in addition to the illustrative plan and all of these projects, we have a robust transportation strategy. We have proposed a robust parking strategy, and we have an implementation plan. The implementation plan includes strategies of who's going to pay for it, who's going to carry these things out, how are they going to be carried out over a series of phases, because we want to make sure that the private investment is keyed in with public improvements, and to the extent possible, development is paying its way through, because a lot of these improvements, we want to make sure a lot of these new streets are built as part of the development proposal. The improvements, the landscaping is built as part of the proposal that it fronts. And as grants and other opportunities become available, we will identify them obviously in the specific plan, and you can pursue those. And there are some districts that you can pursue if there's interest to pursue, like for example, business improvement districts. In addition to that, this is a specific plan, so we'll be writing a code. This code is going to be different than the ones that you currently have, because it's going to focus not on private development, but it's going to focus on the design of the public environment, because most of what I've talked to you today is about streets and open spaces, because that's where we interact with the buildings. The private development is left up to the market. There will be standards that govern what the private development can and cannot do, but it will be more loose. It will be based on market, so that it can be more responsive to the changes in the market, less focused on what you can do with that building, more focused on the form of the building and the form of the public realm that it defines in terms of the streets and the open spaces. So you'll see standards for streets, you will see standards for open space, and there will be standards, broad standards for land use controls. So let me stop there and see if you have any questions.
I just, can everyone hear me? I just want to say excellent report. This development here, I think, represents what we've always talked about and watched it in Baldwin Park. So thank you for the presentation.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. All right, anyone else? All right, I'm not hearing any of the other council members, so I'll just move on. Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
So thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Okay, I believe we're going to go into closed session at this point. Am I correct?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
this is Robert Tafoya. Did we open public communications?
Oh, no, I did not. Allow me to do that now. Thank you very much, legal counsel.
Thank you.
At this point, I will ask the deputy city clerk if did we receive any public communication.
Thank you, Mayor. No, there weren't any for the 5 o'clock.
All right, there was none. Thank you very much. At this point, I will now move to close the public communication. That is my motion. Is there a second?
Second.
No?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Alejandra Avila. Thank you very much. All right, so at this point, we're going to go into closed session. Am I correct?
That's correct. Thank you.